Okay, so welcome to our webinar, everyone. I think there are still some people joining us. Particular welcome to Hazel and Tom and Kaz and Philippa, who are all joining me. I'm going to let them each introduce themselves in just a minute. Bear with us. And I just want to take this opportunity before I forget to say thank you very much to all our sponsors, without whom this wouldn't be possible. So that's what allowed you to join up for free. So thank you to Bimeda, Elanco, MSD, Norbrook, Zoetis, HDB and SIVA. We really, really appreciate your support. Right, the plan for today, we're going to speak to Hazel, Tom and Kaz, let them all introduce themselves, who they are in the real world, who they are in the virtual space, the audiences, who do they reach out to, practical technical tips for using social media. We've already established that I'm a total dinosaur, so I'm liable to say something completely inappropriate or show how little I understand. So bear with that. And then any further thoughts people have. So great. Now, we also want to know who our audience is. And this is your chance to allow us to know who we're speaking to. I'm just going to launch a poll. So we want to know who you are in the audience, and we want you to let us know what social media you're using. That'd be really helpful. And then we're also trying out a few things, and I'm sorry if you're overwhelmed by QR codes and all the rest of it. We've got two separate things here. One is to let us know what your social media handles are, and you can fill that in on the Padlet board with which you can either go to this link, and I shall put that in the chat in a minute, or click on the QR code. And the other thing is to add some words to our word cloud about what you feel about social media. And otherwise use a chat, the Q&A, anything else on Zoom that you hopefully are used to already using. And without further ado, I might just let everyone vote if they want to vote, and I'll close the voting in a minute. So for those of you who are in the recording, we're asking the audience whether they're vets, whether they're farmers, or neither, and we're asking them what sort of social media they use. And we shall share that just shortly. Meanwhile, I'm going to go over to Hazel. Can you introduce yourself, please?
I'm unmuted. Yes. Hello. Thank you so much to Flock Health and Philippa and Fiona for having me on tonight. It's an honour to be here. I am Hazel Mullins. I am a Nottingham grad, 2013, so I'm getting on a little bit, but still classify myself as a young vet, in inverted commas. Work in Abbeyville Veterinary Hospital in Cork City. I work as a 100% large animal vet. Oh well, 95. I see an odd dog and cat, but I would classify myself mostly as a cow vet, with an odd horse thrown in. But who I am in the real world this was a strange question, not a strange one, but it was a difficult one, because I do very much put my whole life on Instagram, probably to my detriment sometimes, but I have an Instagram account, Vet on the Move with 2 O's and Moo, or Hazel Mullins, at Hazel Mullins. And basically, I'm a Nottingham grad, I'm a dairy farmer's daughter, large animal vet, as I said, coffee lover. Started a bit of a hashtag posh coffee that's taken off in the vet social media world, which is brilliant. Greyhound owner, trainer, polo enthusiast, but my polo club is slightly redundant at the moment over COVID. Shopaholic, trashy TV addict, things like The Circle, Love Island, they're right up my street, and a caring friend and loving girlfriend. So that's who I am in the real world.
Brilliant. Thanks, Hazel. Can we go to Tom?
Evening, everyone. Hope you're all okay. It's good to be talking to you all this evening. So who am I in the real world? I graduated from the Royal Veterinary College about 6-7 years ago now. I started off going into mixed practice, and after about 3 years I was asked to go and join a new farm animal only practice in South Wales, just outside of Cardiff. And been just doing cattle and sheep work ever since. It's mostly beef, a little bit of dairy, but yeah, beef and sheep is what I generally do. And I do pick up quite a lot of the weird and wonderfuls, I call them. So I've got quite a few alpacas and guys with wallabies and emus and rheas, which all make for a bit of variety in life.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tom. And Kaz.
Right. Thanks, Fiona and Philippa, for having me. This is me. So I got told off the other day for calling myself a new grad when I graduated in 2017. I guess I just about fall into recent grad. I don't know if that's, I'm still taking it. But I work for Black Sheep Farm Health. It's similar. It's a practice that started in 2018, farm only. We're up in Northumberland, so right here in the northeast corner of England, very close to Scotland. And essentially joined more or less out of graduating. I had a job in Castle Douglas, it's a lovely part of the world, for about 6 months before that, just to see me through between graduation and joining Black Sheep. I am actually from North London, understandably, you might guess, not from a farming background. And we're a small team. The vast majority of what we do is beef and sheep. There's a little bit of dairy, a little bit of goats, a little bit of camelids, you know, dribs and drabs here and there. And then outside work, I'm a real bore. So when I'm not working with cattle and sheep in work hours, I'm working with cattle and sheep in my leisure time. So, and the other bits, you know, a lot in common with a lot of vets: farming, food, politics, the natural world. That's my sort of jam. So yeah, we do a bit. I walk the dog as well. That's my dog, or my girlfriend's dog, Penny. This, I did put this photo in as a joke, but I think Philippa was probably, Philippa and Fiona probably scattered these in. This is me in my modelling, just modelling the new pink hats we've got in, and that's my little photo. Again, we'll still do plenty of standard sort of, I don't know what you call it, firefighting work. This is what I call this piece of work. Don't look into the light. But anyway, that's me. That's me in the real world.
Brilliant, thanks, Kaz. No, we put loads of photos of you modelling the hat because we thought it looked so silly. So it's on all your slides.
Oh,
so
this is just to illustrate. This is where I work. Beautiful. If you haven't been to Northumberland, don't come, because I'm told I'm meant to discourage people from coming, to stop it turning into Cornwall and Devon. But that is the Cheviot. So that is, if you get a Cheviot sheep, that's where they're from. I think it's not quite a mountain. This is Rothbury. That's a little village. The practice is in. Very quiet, sleepy, lovely Northumberland village. And the next slide is sort of more where I'm from. And don't get me wrong, you look at these photos and maybe think it's a bit rough and ready, which it is, but that's the only mountain in that bottom right photo. That's the only mountain we had where I'm from. So that's Fridge Mountain. And that is, that'll be where the Olympic Stadium is now. So that's Stratford before it was or while it was an industrial wasteland. But so that's just to illustrate the contrast between the beautiful place to work now and the slightly less beautiful place I'm from.
And then, Kaz, we want you to go straight on to your virtual life.
My virtual life, excellent. Okay, so I guess I have sort of two virtual lives. So there's the practice social media, and as I said back in 2018, the practice was just starting. We were just sort of starting to gather up clients, and being the youngest in the team, having plenty of spare time, Jack and Jenny, who I was working for at the time, they gave me this responsibility to do this. So started off as Facebook, a little bit of Twitter, and I don't know if newsletters count as social media, but certainly it's the media, practice media. So I've been doing that since, well, for 3 years now, and it's actually quite good fun. And secondly, this is a much more recent project, so I just started putting stuff out at the end of last year. Farm Vet Films, it is what it says on the tin. It's me going around catching stuff on a GoPro and putting it online. So, I mean, it's a YouTube channel, but we've got pages on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter just to sort of draw people in and share stuff as widely as possible. So that is that's my sort of own time. Yes, I capture a lot of footage of work, but it's sort of in my own time. I do the editing of the videos, etc. and it's aimed at a slightly different audience, but we'll get onto that, I think, in the next slide.
No, you don't get on to that next slide, I don't think. We want to go, sorry, Kath,
Well, the next
we'll
is
come
my
back to
slides.
that. Yeah, we'll come back to that shortly. We just go to Tom and find out who he is virtually.
So my name, my tag on Instagram, which is the main platform that I use, is @Tom_FarmVet. I've been on Instagram since 2018, and it was more because my girlfriend at the time really encouraged me to do it. She was like, "You've got quite an interesting job. You know, you're coming home, you're showing me all these photos and things. You show your friends these photos, but you know, I'm sure there's people out there who would be interested in it as well." And I'd actually made a pact with one of my friends from school, Twitter. So I kind of broke that pact to do it. And since then it's gone from, you know, it's grown, and I've got, well, I think quite half decent following. I spend most of my time on there, and what I'm kind of more known for is my quizzes, and I use the story function on Instagram, which you can put up these posts which last only for 24 hours. There's a variety of different ways to get people to interact with it, but I do quizzes for common cases that I've seen, common things that I do, and sort of try and get that knowledge transfer out there, really. And that's the main place I use that platform for, is basically my professional career. And there's a bit of a sprinkling of what I do in my personal life, but mostly it's professional based and trying to get knowledge out to farmers and vet students.
Tom, can you just explain the quizzes to somebody who doesn't totally understand Instagram?
Yeah.
Are they easy to set up?
They're pretty easy to set up.
I'm just going to turn your video off, Tom, because you keep disappearing.
To set it up. The physical writing, they're very easy to set up. Go into sort of the story section, and there's a variety of different things you can add on to it. So, for example, my photo there of the cow, there's like a bit of a poll there, and you'd select which is the correct answer. What I normally struggle with is the writing of them, because you've got to put a bit of time and effort into them, and it's very easy to get the right answer. It's adding in the wrong answers, which takes time, and when you're trying to do it as a bit of a case, as well as making sure it works out, and making sure you click the right button is the correct answer, and those sort of basic things. But yeah, I've got a bit better at it, and just before Christmas, I managed to do one which we actually got some prizes, and we got Kiwi Kit to sponsor and get a few prizes out there as well. So yeah, that's what I do a lot of my time on.
Brilliant, excellent. Thanks, Tom. And Hazel.
Yes. So, who is the virtual me? I was saying earlier that the virtual me versus the real me, there's not an awful lot of difference, but my page is kind of my day-to-day. It used to probably be a bit more of my day-to-day. I probably haven't been as active on stories as I was maybe 2 years ago, but it all began in 2018. Like Tom, there was kind of a flurry of vets at the time, and we all became kind of friends, and we all kind of encouraged each other. So it's became part of my life, really. It kind of took over. So it's not just a veterinary account. I'd say it's 80%, but I have a lot of my farm life, my my dogs and my shopping or whatever else I'm doing as well, even if the farmers don't particularly want to see it. But there's always an audience out there. I think for me, the virtual me is very much trying to be me virtually. So yeah, I love to show my personality and my passions. Some days I don't post. I think everyone needs a detox, and some days I'm just not feeling it. But due to my presence online, I have good few followers now, which I'm very proud of. I've built them up, and I get great opportunities to work with companies and with yourselves tonight, just doing talks, and it's definitely it grew into something that I never thought it would. So I think generally I don't do quizzes as such like Tom. I do maybe one question in a case, and then I might just go and talk about a case. But I leave the quizzes to Tom really. But what else do I kind of do? I show kind of my late night calls, my early morning calls, my testing, my vet nurses out with me, kind of just everything I do during the day. And if I see something funny, I put it up and whatnot. So yeah, that's generally the virtual me.
Brilliant. Thank you. Right, and I promised we'd go to this, so now I've got to work out how to do this. I'm going to share the results from our poll so that we know who our audience is. And if you attended our webinar last week with Tommy the vet, we were like, absolutely, you really need to know who your audience are. So here we've got 68% of the people listening or watching are vets in practice. And then we've got a few vets not in practice, a few farmers, and a few people, you're very welcome, who are neither vet nor farmer. And then social media, what do you use? So on here, and I tried to split this up so we got a bit of a more of an idea. So everybody, half of you are active users on Facebook, half of you observe minimal use. I have to put myself in that category. A lot of active Instagram users, but we've had some good Instagram promotions from our three guests, so that's brilliant. Fewer on Twitter, about 20% actively using Twitter, 24% watching, looking at Twitter, and then 16% here on TikTok and Snapchat. So there are, Hazel, there are people out there. That's maybe the future to this is somebody who I had to have my kids show me how to sort out Instagram earlier. So and YouTube, that's interesting, isn't it, Kaz? So a lot of people, and in fact it surprises me that only 34% say they watch YouTube. I thought that would be pretty much 80-90%, but very few having their own account. So great. Okay, now bear with us. So let's see the Padlet, if at all possible. I'm hoping well, some people must have managed this because we have, I'm just going to have to stop sharing and we'll connect. Yeah. This is our Padlet screen. Not many of you managed, not many of you got this. So, okay, that's quite interesting. Has that worked? No. I'll try it again. Am I sharing the Padlet now? Yeah, okay, thanks. Yeah, now we used this more successfully last week, actually, but we have had a few of you added your, I suppose Facebook, that's all a bit different, isn't it? But we've basically got, oh, here we go, people adding in but very limited on TikTok and Snapchat. So anyway, I was kind of thinking we could capture that and send them around. Now someone's just reminded me they wanted me that I promised, and I did promise I would share this in the chat. So hang on. We'll go back to this later. So don't worry. I'm now sharing the Padlet link in the chat to everybody. And I did promise I'd do that earlier. There we go. And then the other one, have we got, is that now sharing Menti? Okay, brilliant. 3 words to describe good reasons for vets to use social media. And engagement is pretty much the most obvious there. Practice-client bond, hearing opinions, staying informed, humor, fun, enjoyment. Yeah. These are not going away. If you want to add in your own ideas to this, and I also promised I'd add the link for this. So for the Menti, you can just go to menti.com and then add in add in a code, as it said at the top, go to www.menti.com and use the code 227992. And I think I should be able to go to the next slide, but why might you not want to join social media? That gives you, you have to, we'll come back to that because it's a bit, otherwise use chat and question and answers to interact in whatever way you can. And we will do our best to answer them as we go along. Right, moving on. Who's your audience? We're going to start with Tom this time. Who do you think your audience is, Tom?
Okay, so Instagram, and I think this is a relatively new function, that I've had on my Instagram anyway, has got this real good ability to break down and give you insights on who is interacting with your profile and who is interacting with your posts. So I pulled this up a couple of days ago, and from this, I can say the areas, and you can go more precise, and you can do cities and things as well. But most people are obviously from UK, Great Britain. I'm hitting your 18 to 34-year-olds, and the majority are women. So from that, I reckon the majority of the veterinary community at the moment, especially vet students, are female. So I reckon I've probably hitting quite a lot of vet students from that, and that is really what my content is aimed at, is vet students, the knowledge transfer, and I've really tried to make a bit of a conscious effort over the last year with lockdown and things like that to try and get more information out there, use those quizzes to help people with revision. And then off the back of that, I have been asked to speak to different farm animal veterinary societies and did a bit of a tour in November, speaking to Edinburgh, Glasgow, RBC, etc. Bristol, to discuss cattle fertility, sheep fertility, which was quite a good opportunity. And probably off the back of that, I gained some more followers that would fit into those categories. And then my plan is to kind of expand outside of the farming and veterinary world, to kind of drive a bit more of the followers there. And really because I'm quite passionate about our industry and what we do. And I think farmers understand that, farm vets and vet students understand that, but I want to get that out to the people who don't realise what we do, what our job, what our job entails, and the passion and the hard work that goes into producing our food.
Okay, brilliant, Tom. So someone just put something into, there was a bit of a feedback when you were speaking. I think, are you in the depths of Wales there, Tom? You're into...
No, I'm in Cardiff. I'm in Cardiff. If I stop my video, it might be a bit better. I mean, Wales is slightly behind, but it's not that wild and bad.
Sometimes headphones as well, Tom, can help. You have.
Tom, where's the function on Instagram to get that information?
So if you go on your main page, there'll be a section which says Insights, and then you can click on that, and then you can scroll down, and you can see, I think it's followers, and then if you click on the followers, it will then break it all down like this. You can do it on individual posts as well. I've only known I've had it for the last few months. I don't know if you hit like a certain number, it gets popped in, or I don't know whether everyone's got it.
I think everyone's probably checking their insights on their Instagram right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they probably are.
So the interesting thing is, Hazel, is your split of women to men the same as Tom's or different? Just interested?
I've just looked at that because I tend to not look at this because I find it a little bit stressful, kind of, because you see people unfollowing you and following you, and it always works out, kind of evens out, but it does cause me a little bit of anxiety. So I don't, but you can just go straight to your audience, but mine is 52% women and 48% men. So I feel Tom has been a little bit harsh on himself there, blaming the vet students for that. I think he has a little bit of, you know, an old appeal as well.
I was thinking it might be a bit of the appeal.
Yeah. So Tom, you know.
You spoil me.
Actually, apparently, it's only when you set your profile as a professional profile that you can access that. So Lucy's put in the chat, which is
okay. That makes
helpful.
sense then. That makes sense then.
And I'm 52% 25 to 34-year-olds, so that would probably.
This is why I'm outside the box.
I have a couple of 13 to 17-year-olds on me as well, which is always interesting.
Actually, that might be at least two of those are my daughters, Hazel. So there you go. Go on, Kaz. Tell us who your audience is.
Right. So obviously for the practice social media, it's who you think it might be. So it's anyone really, isn't it? It's anyone who could get access to it, but who would you like to watch it or see it? So clients, possibly other people in the sort of wider agricultural community locally. Then
do you use that to attract in other farmers, do you think, Kaz?
As clients?
Yes.
I think it's a nice idea. I think if you set out to do it and think you're going to get a whole slew of clients off the back of Twitter, then you're probably like you're dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
I think what it does, it gives you a presence, but especially with, well, maybe more with small animal or equine clients where there's a higher turnover and there's always new people getting into horses, new people getting into puppies. With farming, as you'll know, it's pretty much closed shop, and like we always say that farmers get divorced more times than they change their vet. You know what I mean? It takes something pretty seismic to make them change their vet, and a Facebook page, however powerful, is not going to do that. As I say, I think if it gives you a presence, so when people do think about changing, you're at the top of the list. Brilliant. But similarly, when we were at there was the last XL Vets farm and business meeting, this guy called Piers Pepperell from Mount Vets, I think. He did a great talk on agricultural shows and putting, doing the practice thing at agricultural shows. And the first thing he said was, if you think you're going to get lots of clients off the back of this, again, you're dreaming. Like he said, I do this all the time. We love doing it, but it's a big fat goose egg when it comes to picking up new clients. Then you get further down the list, things like vet students. It's great to see them on board, see them, because we're always looking for EMS placements as well. So if they can get involved, all the better. And then really, obviously, you've got to remember it's open to the general public. So you always got to be mindful that it's all open to consumption. So Farm Vet Films is a bit different. So I think the audience at the moment is probably half my mum and dad and the rest interested general public. And the other, I think, I've put it out there and hope that anyone will watch it. I would say following on from what Tom was saying in his last one about possibly trying to open it up to a wider audience. I think I absolutely sort of echo that. People are really interested in what we do. I mean, if you think how many people you meet as a vet and they tell you, oh, I wish I really wanted to be a vet when I was younger. And then they normally say something about school, like exam results and stuff. But people are really interested. You look at what Channel 5 are doing, Yorkshire Vet's huge, farming equally, Amanda Rowan and every, This Farming Life, massive. So really it's to the general public, with I'll do some technical videos which may be more farmer focused. That image of George Clooney there, that's just there to remind me that a lot of local farmers watch it because it's their chance to look over the hedge. I call it look over the hedge mentality. You know what they're like, especially with COVID, they don't get the chance to get out and see what their peers are doing. They're always very curious. So I suspect, as I say, about half my mum and dad and half are local farmers. But really, it's the idea is the target audience is the general public.
And do you use, so Kaz, do you use other channels to point people to your YouTube channel? Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. So other social media outfits. Yeah, absolutely. That's the whole idea of having a Facebook page and a Instagram and a Twitter account. It's just to kind of not funnel people, but to guide them towards it.
Great, thank you. So I'm just going to apologise to anyone. So the feedback was my fault. I'll take the blame for that. And we'll move to Hazel, who's going to tell us our audience, and then somewhere to start with the Instagram.
I feel very unprepared now when I didn't have all the graphs. But yes, apparently it's 50-50 male and female, pretty much, which is interesting. And I would say my audience, like Kaz, like I suppose Tom's, and you know, it's quite broad. I think you have to, when I first started doing content, it was very much very raw, and it was very, I showed a lot of like maybe more gruesome stuff, but now I do kind of think, okay, who's watching this? And, you know, I kind of thought it was just vets watching me before, or just farmers, but now I feel there's a lot more kind of regular non-farming and non-vet people watching. So I would say vets, vet nurses, vet students, definitely. Vet students are wonderful to interact. They send me wonderful messages, and it's great to interact with them. And sometimes I get these beautiful messages and I just don't have time to reply at the time, and then it could go a week and I haven't replied, and I feel so bad. But it's great to be seen as a role model, I suppose, within the veterinary world, and for maybe girls that didn't think of doing large animal or whatnot, and now they do. Farmers and ag industry workers, I've noticed this spring, just going back to looking over the ditch, Kaz's comment, a lot of farmers are like, oh, I saw you in Joe Blogg's farm, you sat, and I'm like, oh God, you know. So I do find there's a bit more pressure on now, that a lot of farmers, and I was at a section the other night, and the farmer was like, oh, can I be in it? Can I be in the Instagram with you? And I was like, you know, I said, we don't really do that, you know, but sometimes. But audience very broad, certainly more aimed now, I feel, towards the farming community, rather than, I was definitely more maybe vet and vet student before, but I think now it's kind of slightly changed to more farmer education. Vet Space Ireland, I set that up with Michelle Maguire. That's kind of taken over my vet, like this is going on in the vet world, or, you know, check out this talk in the vet world. That's kind of taken over that platform a little bit. All walks of life really interact, and yeah, as I looked there, age gap between 25 and 35 seems to be the main age that are watching. And yeah, I suppose if you're doing more of a practice page, you might need to be targeting more towards clients and you know, people to try and get them in that way. But yeah, mine is very much a lifestyle blog, so everyone can kind of, anyone and anyone can tune in. Oh yeah, you can. Oh yeah, I had this slide before I knew about the topics. Sorry, Fiona. So like just how to start an Instagram, download the app, personal blog or business page. I think you have to have a public page to get all those insights. So it might be good to set up a business account if you're doing for practice maybe, or a personal blog. That's what mine is. 3 to 5 posts, just whack them up, have a couple of photographs, and just get a grid started, so it looks like you've been there for a little longer maybe than you have. Hashtags, very important. Start following hashtags, sheep vet, farm vet, etc. And yeah, just start liking anyone with an interest in what you're interested in, so veterinary, farming, whatnot. So like, you know, Tom Farm Vet is very easy to find, and Kaz Farm Vet films, you know, you find people very easily, and it just happens that way. So consistency as well is important, and identifying your audience, as we've said. So this slide is a little bit of an extra one. Sorry, I went off piste a little bit, Fiona.
No, I thought that was really helpful to have in there for dinosaurs such as myself. And if anyone who didn't go to the chat, if you're not sure how to transition to a professional account, there's a website there that somebody's put on the chat that you can click into and work out how to change your account, professional account. The only thing is you can't have a private account if that's what you want to do. So bit of a tip there. So thanks to our audience. Okay, great. Philippa, are you with us? Go to Twitter.
There we go. You can hear me, can't you? Yeah. So so I suppose I'm across all platforms, I suppose, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and I enjoy actually Instagram, I think, a little bit more, just because it seems friendlier. I know that sounds a bit silly, but you, like Hazel said, you've got like-minded people on there, and it's very visual because there's lots and lots of photos and lots of different cases, and it's quite easy to post something and get a message across and then maybe not interact so much, whereas Twitter is very much more interactive. So that can be really good and really positive, but it does have its negative side to it as well. So I think, as Kaz and Tom were saying, and Hazel, about interacting with farmers and trying to boost our industry and really get involved with our industry, and I am all for that, very much so. But on the Twitter sphere, I think you sometimes find the negative side to that, in terms of the more extreme facing maybe vegans of the more extreme side, and maybe animal rights, and they can get involved in discussions which are very straightforward and scientific that we would have about certain topics, which is brilliant, but they can sometimes hijack that, and it can be quite stressful. And I think there'll be vets maybe watching this evening who certainly have entered into TB discussion debates, slaughter debates, good stuff to have, but because it's on such a public platform, you get people that really strongly disagree with that, and then it can actually be quite isolating. So I think you have to have quite thick skin when you're on the Twitter side of things. I'm not meaning to bring this quite down, but that's the downside that I find. I don't know if people agree with that. If anyone wants to put in the chat, I'd be interested to hear what they think.
Do you think that's not the case? That's not the case with Instagram, then? Do you think because people can't reply? So
no, I don't think. Well, I don't think it's the case with Instagram. I think because it's a slightly different community, but you still do get some interaction, but it can't be exaggerated, or it can't be the hashtags on Twitter seem to attract or be wider used. I'm not really articulating that very well, but people can view something and it can be spread a lot easier on Twitter, I think. What would you think about that, Hazel? Do you agree, or Tom, or anybody?
I am terrified of Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, I had a bad experience on it, and I took over a page that I didn't realize, because I just say yes to these things, and I took over a page that had quite a few 35,000 followers, and I was just showing my day as if I was on Instagram, but I was a little bit more naive. On Instagram I wouldn't have got any real backlash or anything, but on Twitter people were saying, oh, TB testing, it's a waste of time, it's a waste of government money, is that all you do? And it kind of hit me hard, and I definitely agree with the tough skin, but I do think that Twitter, it has a place for definitely for even advertising really good things that practices are doing, or things, even like here tonight, I should have put on Twitter that I was talking with you guys tonight, positive things. It's just, you have to be careful not to. I was very naive with the things I put up, and towards the end of the week I put up less and less because I just couldn't face the confrontation.
Yeah, I think it seems to be more public facing, even though Instagram is. It's got a wider audience. But that said, it's really good. So when it's kept professional, and if you can keep out of those threads, It's excellent for discussing with farmers and learning new ideas and really getting into some really good discussion and some good experiences. And so I really enjoy that side of it. And in terms of just, yeah, answering questions, it can become a bit encompassing if you let it. So you do have to draw a line. And there's always a line with all of us that are posting things about what we do, because like Kaz said, people are really interested, farmers are really interested, but then, you know, they can start to ask maybe questions that become clinical, and it can get a bit sticky in terms of you don't actually want to advise, but it also does help that we can then say, go and speak to your vet, and we can really promote that vet farmer engagement. And also, I think from a farmer point of view, it's really good when they reinforce having that good farmer vet engagement on there, because again, everything is open to such a wider audience. And so other farmers, we know that farmers always listen to a farming champion or a peer that they hold in high regard, sometimes more than us. And so when you actually see that on, when farmers see vets being put in a good light on there and being given some good praise and about that engagement, that can really help drive it. So it has had I've had some good experiences on Twitter, some bad ones, but, and like Hazel, some really, like you said, some that, they can be upsetting, but you have just to, maybe a bit naive, maybe entering into debates that really you don't need to enter into, but because you're quite passionate about the industry, you want to dispel some untruths, but actually you've got to choose who you're talking to and realize pretty quickly who might be in that discussion. And once you've done that, it can be good.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't realise that difference. Actually, a few people on the chat have said so. One of the things that you can delete your comments on Instagram, but not on Twitter. Louise has pointed out that maybe one thing. And John said how they're totally different community vibe on Instagram versus Twitter. I don't know if the age thing is quite significant there as well. That it's that the older farmers are more likely potentially to be on Twitter than no. Kaz doesn't think so. That was definitely a wrinkle of the nose there.
I jump in. I think personally, I love Twitter. Professionally, I think it's probably the least useful of the social media channels we're talking about, because there are fewer sort of, I'd say less than 5% of our clients are on Twitter, if not 1%. But there are some really good farming accounts, veterinary accounts. So I take a lot from it, don't necessarily put out a lot on it. So it's great personally. And personally, the nice thing is you can get into all sorts of online like barneys and arguments without dragging your professional side in. So it's I really like Twitter in my leisure time, and you do learn some really useful professional things from it. But the practice Twitter is probably the least engaging, least useful of all of these sorts of media we're talking about.
Yes. Okay. That's good point. Thank you. And I know a lot of practices, and Facebook is often you get a bigger Facebook following certainly than Twitter. Tom, practical tips, technical tips.
I think you're on mute there, Fiona, but there we go. So my kind of technical, practical tips is remember the main one, it is social media. So interact. And like with all of those, that old adage is you get what you put in, and it's exactly the same on this. Is you go out there and you find other accounts that are similar to yours and interact with them. They will interact back with you, and in that way you become more part of that community, and then you'll gain those followers and gain your audience in that respect. So if, for example, I was to say, I was hashtag had a fantastic posh coffee, hashtag posh coffee, Hazel Mullins would be proud, She might then repost that and say, oh, look, Tom's having a busy day, allowing some views, had a fantastic coffee. And then that's kind of that back and forth is how you build up your audience and your community. You just sit there and you just plug out posts after posts, you're going to get a bit of an interaction, but you're not going to meet as many new people as part of it. Okay. I think I personally would say make a bit of a decision whether you're going to keep it for professional use or you're going to have it as sort of your entire life on there. I like to have a bit of a boundary because then I can put it down and I can say, do you know what, I want to focus on my personal life at the moment. You know, I've had enough of doing work throughout the day. You know, I'll just switch that off and I'll just use it to sort of scroll through and look at whatever people are doing. But if I want to kind of push it and be a bit more on my professional life of what I'm doing in my work and things, that's kind of where I sort of focus my energy on the Instagram. Most of my personal life stuff I do put up is just food. Really love cooking and showing off like what products we produce and then the end result as well. So most of my personal stuff that I do put up is food. What I wanted to say, and it kind of relates a bit back to that Instagram versus Twitter thing. I think I watched a documentary that's on Netflix, and they started to talk about the algorithms that they use to drive accounts and to really keep you engaged in the whatever products you're using. And they're doing that for the advertisement. But what they start to know is they start to know what Tom, for example, likes interacting with. And they'll put up, right, Tom's thinking about skiing at the moment. Let's put up another ski video. Yeah, that keeps him engaged for a bit longer. Let's follow that with another ski video, keeps him going, okay? What can then happen with that is you become very blinkered. And you only get shown ski videos. So your attitude is everybody else out there is skiing and skiing is the way to go. But because you really like the ski videos, they never show you a video of surfing, for example. So you don't know that there's that other opinion out there. There's another thing that you could be doing. And I kind of take that sort of into what I do. And it's because I follow a lot of farming veterinary type accounts, I get a lot of that information back and forth, which is good, and that helps drive your audience. But it can make you be a bit blinkered to what is going out and what is the general population and the consensus. So I do follow quite a few vegan cookery channels and things like that, just to get that little bit of difference in there. So I'm not constantly being thumbs with, yeah, this is what, you know, this is meat eaters, this is what we do, farming, etc. I bring in, seek other people's opinions and just see what their thoughts are doing, and just kind of follow, and just so I don't get completely blinkered in that respect. So that was all based off that documentary I watched on Netflix, which I would encourage people to do. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I think it's like social. So I think it's called the social media, something like that.
Yeah, great. Thanks. That's really helpful, Tom.
Yeah, so great point. I agree with everything Tom said, to be honest, especially the echo chamber sort of aspect of what we were saying. You know, it's really easy to find yourself. It's the double-edged sword of interacting with people who are like-minded, because you just start to think everyone thinks like you. How could anybody share a different opinion? And it's very easy to fall into that trap. So yeah, I absolutely agree. Basically, from what I'm doing, don't get too serious is what I was thinking. There's so much good technical information out there. There's absolutely heaps, like whether it's QMS, Farm Advisory Service, HDB, Morden, Scops, Cow, you know, there's absolutely heaps of it. If anything, people are probably slightly saturated with it. So that's why I've said just try and keep it lighthearted. From the practice side of things, people love to see the team, like they like are really interested and invested in what the team are doing. It's almost like your little family, you know, it's a bit cliched, but they are really interested. Getting consent is interesting because that is something I haven't struggled with yet, but obviously from a professional point of view, we should be doing. The way I do it for the video footage is I say to them at the time, look, it'd be great if I could get some footage, is that okay? They always say, yep, fire away. After that, I'll say, right, I'll send you the final edit. If you've got any issues with it, or you look at something and you think, oh, maybe you shouldn't have put that in, just tell me, it will come out. And then obviously, if it goes out and you change your mind and say, actually, no, I don't want it out there, it will come straight down. So that's the way I do it. And when I send them the final edit, I send it via email, and normally they'll respond in kind on an email, or at least a text. So I've got like a written record of their consent, I guess, which just keeps things above board, keeps things kosher. And then, like, if you're getting into all that sort of stuff, just a quick scan through like the RCVS code of conduct. There's a couple of bits I put in there that are relevant. It's fairly like sensible, but it's nothing you wouldn't expect. And then a quick thing on VMD, like medicines. And I'm sure if you're in Ireland, like Hazel, there'll be exactly the equivalent from BCI and etc. Just to keep you on the right side of things. And I highly doubt anyone would actually ever come after you for, I don't know, advertising or accidentally mentioning a drug name or something. It's just to take the stress out of it, really. And I don't get into arguments, going back to Twitter. Personally, I don't have any time for it. Send your reply, forget about it. That's it. Like, it's just don't take the bait. There's no point. If you're not going to persuade anyone over Twitter about anything, like, it's just futile. Be careful about what content you share, is what I would say, especially from the practice point of view. There's all sorts of stuff put out, and even if it's pro-agriculture, it doesn't necessarily mean it's like right or true or quality information. That's the temptation, is when you see people you disagree with sharing stuff is incoherent or nonsense. The temptation sometimes, I think, is to respond in kind. So there's a temptations there. Don't do it, because at the end of the day, the truth comes out, and there's no point in spreading more nonsense. Get too technical or long. Oh, that's Anthony Joshua come. That's actually not me. That's Anthony Joshua, heavyweight champion of the world. That is, yeah, keep it punchy, right? Keep it punchy. So, as I said, there's heaps of stuff out there, like absolutely like farmers don't know how lucky they are. Like, there's absolutely loads of information out there. But my attitude is, there's loads of it out there. If they want it, it's there. I'm going to make something a bit fun and like me horsing around a bit. Maybe I'll stick a bit of technical information in there, and I'll signpost to something better. Because what's the point in repeating something someone's already done? No, gone to the effort of making all these great technical resources. And then this fourth, and again, I'm very new to this compared to Tom and Hazel. But even in those few months I've been doing this, you have people messaging randomers, like just whoever, about their cattle, the sheep, their dog, their cat, like the gerbil, and they'll contact anyone but their own vet. And so I guess the key thing is, I try and talk in generalities, and I'll always say, I just sound like a broken record, go and talk to your own vet. Talk to your vet. If you're a farmer or an animal keeper, from the description, for God's sake, go and talk to your vet. Like, they as I say, they'll talk to anyone but their own vet. So I think, the other thing was, while I'm on, is I checked, YouTube has a great analytics bit, a bit like Instagram. And while you guys were talking away, I checked my audience, and it's very similar in terms of its geography and its age to Hazel and Tom. I'm a bit concerned because the male-female split there is about 90% blokes. So I don't know, I'm missing something here. I don't know what's going on.
That's your niche, Kaz. That's your niche.
Exactly. I mean, just go with it, I guess. Just go with it. But that's YouTube also has great analytics, and you get that from day one. You put one video out, shows you where they are in the world, when they're on YouTube, and heaps more. So yeah, that's my do's and don'ts.
Brilliant, thank you, Kaz. Can you just say, with the consent, just go back. So if somebody if it's their animal, or they're in the picture, or anything, if it's involving them, you always get their consent.
Yeah, so yeah, I always say to everyone who's there, like say you're doing some PDing, you're there with a farmer, might be there with someone who's just helping out. I always just say to everyone, look, before we go, do you mind if I get this? you know, or maybe you're working on a farm where you're working with a manager or a stockman, but the farmer is, slightly less hands-on, is a way. I try and cast as wide a net as possible and just send it to everyone and say, look, are you happy with this? Not had any complaints so far, but I think you've just got to, like with anything, you know, what they say about RCVS, you've got to be able to defend yourself in front of a group of your peers. And you say, look, I made the effort, got the consent. I was a bit pessimistic to think about it that way, but you know, it's just, there's no point getting wound up and getting yourself into trouble over a YouTube video.
Yeah, that's good advice. Brilliant. Thank you, Kaz. Thank you. Okay, can we go to Hazel, who's going to give us some tips how to grow your page?
Yes. So if you've set up your Instagram account and you want to get more and more followers, it takes time. I'd say my page is 2.5 years, nearly 3 years old now. 12,500. I had a lot of very lucky and great opportunities, which that would be one of my tips. Say yes to opportunities. So Instagram takeovers, they're a brilliant way. Like I took over the Irish Farmer independent account and I got thousands of followers from that. And, you know, you never know where, you know, yes, it takes effort to do these things. And yes, it's nerve-wracking, but it can really open up you as a brand as well. And I suppose be you, that would be, you know, it's probably a little bit cliche, but, you know, organic growth, they talk about this. I listen to a lot of podcasts, kind of marketing and, you know, social media podcasts, and I find they're a little bit of a break from you know, veterinary podcasts maybe and mental health podcasts that I listen to, but they're good fun and they kind of give you a lot of tips. So that's a good place. You know, a lot of YouTube videos as well. Kaz and I were talking about that earlier about, you know, literally they can pinpoint how to get 1,000 followers, how to set up a Instagram quiz. Like there is a YouTube video out there to do everything you want to do on Instagram. Someone has made a video about. So be consistent, as I said before. Try and post a story at least every day on Instagram, I find, just to keep you present in people's minds, even if it's really boring, like, I don't know, a cup of coffee or this, if you pass a nice scene or anything. It doesn't have to be lots of clinical content or anything like that, but just to show your presence. Reels, I was talking about Reels earlier. So Reels are kind of like TikTok, but on Instagram. So it's short video media. Now, 15 seconds were the old, well, that was what you could do, but now you can do 30 seconds. So I did one the other day on a section that I did, and I didn't show the surgery itself. I just kind of showed bits around it and the little calf at the end. And I think, you know, within a day and a half, I think it's around 13,000 views or something on it. And a reel can go viral. So if you're any bit creative with these little short snippet videos, and they are, once you get your mind around them on Instagram, and you can again watch a YouTube video how to do them, you could make a reel about your practice. You could show the entrance to your practice, you could show a cute puppy, you could show the staff, and that reel will get you way more interaction than just showing a picture of your staff on your Instagram page. So it's all about being a little bit creative. Competitions, as Tom said, you know, he turned one of his quizzes into a competition. They're great. Like the Moo Vet on, he's an Irish vet in Tipperary. He did a calving survival hamper, and honestly, he had, I don't know, over 1,000 entries, and it went viral. Everyone had it on their story. Everyone knew their practice, and Summerhill Vets and Nina everywhere. So and it doesn't take that much, you know. Get a little box, put a few bits into it, and just put it up there. And, you know, tag 3 friends, like and tag your 3 friends that might be interested in winning this hamper, and post it on your story. And next thing, it's everywhere. So it's a really good way to do it. Instagram takeovers, as I said, tag other vets in your stories. You know, I've tagged Philippa, I've tagged Tom, you know, Kaz, I have to start tagging you these next now. And, you know, we get a little community going. and it's kind of like there's little in jokes, when I saw it, like I might see a sheep and I might tag Tom. I'm like, oh, there's a sheep, Tom. Like, what do I do with it? So I'll have to, if I see a big bunch of girls now, I'll have to tag Tom and be like, there are your followers, Tom. So it's all about having a little bit of fun, as Kaz said. And, it is about education as well. I'm big into educating, and I probably fall a little bit into the too long posts. Because I get carried away. I'm like, oh, IBR. And next thing, I should just focus on maybe one area of IBR, but next thing, the whole of the, everything from clinical signs, treatment, vaccination, everything is in there. And I need to probably, I'm learning as I'm going. Everything is a learning curve. And yeah, you make a few mistakes along the way, but I think growing your page, engaging. They say that when you put up a post, leave half an hour at the other side of the post. So don't, post and then have a really busy day where you can't reply. Like if you're sitting on the sofa, you have half an hour, post your post and reply to all the comments straight away. So it's really good to engage, and it's that hour post your post that is the most engaging and gets the most growth of your followers. So it's important to do that. So these are all little tips that I've kind of picked up by listening to people that have a lot more experience than me. So this is one of my competitions that I ran when I reached 10K. It was a cows and coffee hamper, because I love coffee and I love cows. So, and this got like, I don't know, 1,100 comments or something like that. So it was brilliant to do, and it was so easy. It was just a little token, but people loved it. So yeah.
Great, thanks Hazel, brilliant. Oh no, we're still with you, Hazel. Sorry, your further thoughts.
These are my don'ts. So maybe further thoughts, I suppose. Sensitive content. Look, it's not the end of the world if you get a sensitive content thing put over your post. Jared the vet is, notorious for his sensitive content, and he has like 30,000 followers, and he's a big inspiration to me. And but Instagram is getting a little bit more strict on what I've heard of posts being taken down. I've heard of, people mentioning steroids as a treatment, and then Instagram recognizing that as, steroid misuse in athletes, and then taking it down and things like that. So they are getting quite strict. And I've heard of a few farming people that have had their posts taken down. But raising welfare issues on farm, if you see, just be careful what you're taking photographs of, even if you have consent. Sometimes things that you mightn't see, the general public might. So just take a step back and look at what's in the photograph before you post. Sensors, I might take a picture of a prolapse, but put a big smiley face over the actual prolapse, just to kind of dampen it down a little bit. But that's just my kind of take on it. Sometimes I show everything, and then sometimes I take it down a notch. Never drive and film either. So I see a lot of people maybe doing stories while they're driving, and it wouldn't be something that I'd recommend. And you can get in a bit of trouble for it, and you can get a lot of hassle as well. So don't do that. Overly long stories, try to keep it to a minute. If you keep going on for 10 minutes, you'll lose people's interest. So try to get everything you can across in a minute. So that's 4 stories of 15 seconds. So that's your kind of ideal. Don't give free advice, as Tom and Kaz have said. People do, they do have good intentions, and they don't, sometimes they might be looking for a free veterinary consult, but a lot of the time they're just concerned and they're just worried, and I'm just, refer them back to their own vet and reassure them. Don't engage with trolls. I'm very, very lucky. I don't get too many. I get the odd one, but very few. And just be you, be unique, and go for it. That's my advice.
You're not saying goodbye, Hazel. I put that slide in there.
Oh yeah.
Don't go. Yeah. You can't go. You can't use this opportunity.
Showing that I see sheep. There's 2 lambs there. Especially for flock health.
Brilliant, thanks. Go on, Kaz. We've still got Kaz's photo with the nice pink hat. Can you have your deeper thoughts?
My deeper thoughts, consider which photos you send out to Flock Health. But no, basically we've covered it a lot. You know, who's watching? Who are you making it for? You know, if it's a practice account, yes, it's probably going to be for clients. If it's for yourself, like a bit of a project, which a lot of people have taken on in lockdown, it's definitely including myself on that bandwagon. Consider who you're making it for. Tommy mentioned that the other day, Tommy Heffernan, in your other webinar on client meetings. He said at some point, you know, when he started it, he was boring people to death because he was making content for himself, you know, what he would find interesting rather than necessarily pitching it at the clients. And that's, you know, that's definitely the truth for us. And that's a trap. I think, you know, we are, by definition of being in this webinar, we're anoraks, you know, we're sheep anoraks, basically sheep train spotters. So the level we would pitch our information at if we were chatting to our peers is different to that if we were pitching it at general practice vets, vet students, farmers, general public. So I guess that's it. What's the point? I mean, I don't want to get too like cosmic. I mean, for me, the point is having a bit of fun and sharing what I do, because as I say, going back to fact, I'm not from a farming background. Most of my friends and family work sort of middle class, white collar jobs. They have no idea what I do on a day-to-day basis, like no idea. So that's a little bit of why I do it. Absolutely, the more we put out in terms of what the farm vets do, what is agriculture doing, the better, because it's only, you know, it's easy to forget that it's like less than 500,000 people in the UK work in agriculture, I believe. You know, it's a tiny niche sector that has a big impact, but you know, that's, and people are increasingly, like I said, people are interested, you know, on the practice side of things. This little blue section, that's from an excellent presentation by Northwest Equine Vets. That's another one from the Excel festival last year. And on the, well, I'll give you a clue. So the two lists, you can see they're the same thing, but in different orders. One is what vets think is important, you know, top to bottom, top being first. And the one is what the clients think. You can probably guess left or right which is the order that the vets think is important and that feel that they should put out versus what the clients or the audience think is important. You know, let's not bore them to tears with technical information. Let's just put some bit of humor out. Yes, let's weave some information into that at the same time, but not, yeah, as I say, bore them to tears, because they'll just scroll past. They'll just scroll past. What else? Oh, I mean, the other thing is, so if anybody's a member of British Farming Forum on Facebook, or they're not, go and join it, because it is like, it's like the Wild West. And that's my point. I think as vets, like, we are programmed to, it's almost like a coursework mentality. You know, if we put something out, like Hazel said, we really want it to be the best, and we want it to be comprehensive, and don't want, you know, imagine there's other vets marking our social media posts. And absolutely, like, it's got to be like safe, and it's got to be within professional and legal bounds. But if you go on there, you'll see if you put out anything, it's probably going to be better than what's on there. Like, it's I never knew that you could feed, I must have missed the day at vet school where you could feed a scouring calf an egg, you know, like, and that was the remedy for everything. Or, well, you know, things like real common misconception still is, if a TB reactor goes to the slaughter, you know, goes to abattoir and she's lesion negative, oh, that's another one. Another of my cows hasn't got TB that the vet's condemned, you know. And that's just one example of where I guess it's down to us, you know, profession, whether it's vets in practice, the wider profession, that is a failure really of our communication. So other bit, I mean, again, the other thing was, we shouldn't second guess what our audience knows or is interested in. So certainly even farmers, and that's why I quite like putting out, I like the fact that local farmers watch the sort of videos, because for example, I went to treat some lame sheep, just want to treat some lame sheep at one farm. They rang up a couple of days and said, oh, they spoke to Hazel, our receptionist, and they said, oh, could I have some of that stuff that Kaz gave us? Really good. And she was there thinking, well, what on earth is he giving them? Like Mycotil or something like that. It was cyclo spray. Like, it was, they were asking, could farmers have that? You know, could they have blue spray? So don't overestimate, and these are professional sheep farmers. So don't underestimate what people know, what they're interested in. People, they're just really interested. Like there's a guy called Hoof GP on YouTube. He is literally a hoof trimmer in Scotland. That's all he does, trims hooves, trims cattle hooves. And he's got 554,000 followers or subscribers on YouTube. You know, Tom Pemberton is another great one. He's got about 200,000-300,000 subscribers. There's masses. People are really interested in it. And if we don't put something out, something else is going to fill that void. So I guess that's my sort of closing remark is it doesn't have to be perfect for it to go out. You know what I mean? There's got to sort of put an end to that. Being sufficient is good enough sometimes.
Great. Thank you both. Thank you. We have got some comments on the chat, which we might get to. But the other thing actually is I wanted to set a challenge for each of you. So the Farm Vet Champions is a new initiative for any vet that treats farm animals or food producing animals. And so thinking of a way of catching a lot of people. So it's quite clear to me that it's easy to catch people who are in your own age bracket or, you know, who do the things that you do. So, and I think each one of you have actually demonstrated quite nicely that via social media and anything else, we can kind of broaden that, widen that, everything. It's really interesting, the mixture between personal and professional, the links there, and I think that does personal is quite important, isn't it? Please comment, anyone, on either Farm Vet Champions and how we might push that out to vets or make sure people know about it, but also if we can just capture some of these chat comments, just unmute and chip in. Classic. They're all silent now. They've got nothing to say.
Can I ask a question actually to you guys? How do you find the time to do the posts? Do you set yourself a time to do it, is what I'm trying to say? Anyone? Hazel, Kaz?
I used to have a lot more time, and then I think my life has got a bit busier, but I try and do it during lunch, or like I try to do stories maybe straight away after the farm and before I go to the next farm, or, you know, while I'm waiting for a crush to fill at a TB test or something like that. But yeah, it's getting more and more difficult, I find, especially because I've taken on doing a certificate. So, you know, the time I used to spend researching posts and writing them are now actually doing assignments. So yeah, I do think it can take over a lot of your free time. So if you can do it during work hours, I definitely would recommend that, and try to, even like on Instagram, you can save drafts, so you can do maybe couple of minutes here and a couple of minutes there, and then at the end of the day or the next day you can put it up.
Oh yeah, okay. Because that's what sometimes, I mean, they're brilliant, they're so good, your posts that you all three of you do, and I think I would need to research that to make sure that I knew like what I was putting out was right and all the rest of it. But then, like Kaz said, you know, you just need to sort of be sufficient and potentially just start the conversation, and then more people can ask. You don't have to put every bit of information down. But I think as vets, like I think you rightly said, we're driven to make sure we've got everything right on there. But maybe with social media, you can just relax a little bit and just put down what you're experiencing, and then do another post from there on.
Yeah, Philippa, I think that's exactly like what I'm going for. Like I'm not expecting someone to watch one of my videos on, like I put that one out about bolusing cattle. I'm not expecting them to watch that and go ahead and bolus cattle. What I hope they might do is that they might go to their vet, might ring them up or see them at the practice and say, oh, I was watching this YouTube video, this silly young vet doing such and such. What do you think about that? should I be, and that's as much as I'd like it to do, because like we said, we're not really meant to be dishing out specific advice, and we try and steer clear of that. It's as much as, again, it's not a cliche, but it's to start those conversations, like you said.
Mine's quite ad hoc, to be honest, Philippa. I don't really have a specific time when I do it. I just it just comes over me, and I'm like, you know what? I fancy writing a quiz this morning over a cup of coffee. I'll just put it out and do it half an hour, and then go from there. And I kind of take photos as I go, and I get that client consent at the time, and my photos never contain any of the clients or anything like that. And then I'll write a post about it a few months down the line, which is not too specific, and it kind of can never really be linked back to that person in that respect. So I'm kind of like, not take a photo, get it out there straight away. I sort of sit on it and come up with a bit of an idea of what I want to talk about at certain points when I have the time. As Kaz pointed out, I think actually, and using these reels might be a good opportunity, because that's quite a quick snippet of what's going on. Wouldn't take very long, and could be something that just regularly doing might be a really good idea. So I might look into doing that, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting, because again, I was thinking about the photos that I don't always have them to hand on my phone as well. So I wondered, if you had like a bit of a library of stuff as well to add to your quizzes and things, which you obviously do. So yeah.
So have we covered Emily's question there about, Emily asked, she's interested to know how we work with consent for images that are non-identifiable, such as covering up ear tag numbers. I mean, I certainly use images if you can't tell who the farmer is or which animal it is. I don't ask permission for random animals, but do other people?
I'm the same. I'm not saying that's right, but I think the only thing you've got to be careful of is that they can't break anonymity. So like, for example, a few years ago, we took part in that AHDB dry cow suckler study. They came and did a really good presentation after it, putting all the calf results up for failure of pasture transfer. And of course, one herd was Murray Greys and one herd was South Devons. And when you're a reasonably small practice like us, it's very easy for other clients, to go along to that and say, oh, right, South Devons in Northumberland. And it can only be one of like 2 people. So that's, on a post, the same applies. You might think, oh, this is anonymous, there's no tag number, you can't see anyone. But if it's amazing what people will pick up.
Yeah, I took a picture of a Jersey cow in amongst, I don't know, must have been another 200 black and white Friesians the other day, and somebody wrote to the farmer and said, oh, Hazel was at your farm TB testing, I saw that Jersey cow. And I couldn't, the next day at the reading, the farmer said, oh, I heard my cow was up on Instagram. And I was like, oh God. And it kind of did take me back a little bit, because I think I'm sometimes so much in the moment, and I'm like, oh, this is a great photograph. And, and I do try and make it as I'll block out tags, or I'll try and, not have them in, or I'll put an emoji over them or something. But I probably do have to be a little bit more proactive. And I put my hand up with kind of asking. I do ask, but sometimes I'm nearly asking as the phone is coming out, and I need to be a little bit better, because I assume they're going to say yes, but actually are they only saying yes because I have the phone on the animal at the time. So I do put my hand up, and I must get better at that.
So, and we've also, so John says here about, on the sensitive content, he'd suggest that some of the jobs we do as vets, example, dehorning, where you're potentially there's smoke coming up, whether things that can be taken out of context, that whether, we can really consider what to do there. And Alex has said about social media scheduling tools, and thinks that Hootsuite is free. Do others use Hootsuite? it reminds me, there's I don't know if it is similar actually, but there's a tweet deck thing where I've been involved in a live chat where you can control loads of different Twitter things at once. I obviously wasn't controlling it. It's as much as I can do to control a webinar, but that actually, if you're trying to do live questions, they certainly do it. Vet school finals, answering questions live is that puts you under a bit of pressure. You must have done that, have you, Tom? Or are all your quizzes predetermined? Have you done vet school finals?
No, I haven't, but they're all predetermined.
Okay.
They're all predetermined on there. So they go up. I would write them probably on a piece of paper to get the bit of the case or the plan, and then make sure I've got my photos that I'm going to link in with it from like my bank. And back to that kind of client consent is at the time when I'm taking a photo, I just say, do you mind if I take a photo for my online blog? Or this is quite interesting. Do you mind if I take a photo? So I've got that permission then. And then I just use it as that bank later on. But yeah, so it's not really a live interaction thing. It's just a predetermined quiz where the Instagram gives them the answer.
Brilliant, thanks. Actually, I'm just going to move a slide on, partly because it's got all our sponsors on, and we do really want to make sure we say thanks to all our sponsors. Also, if you feel like donating to Just Giving page, please do. We're giving money to either Vet Life or Send a Cow. So I'll just leave that page up there. And meanwhile, I'm going to embarrass myself here because there's a couple of things on the chat that. So Alex asked, are there any follow loops for this industry? I don't understand the question.
I don't either.
Is that hashtags maybe? Kaz or Tom? Follow.
I don't know. I've never heard of a follow loop. No.
I would say that's probably a hashtag. So, well, in my eyes, I don't know, maybe I'm answering it wrong, but again, hashtag sheep vet, hashtag bovine vet, hashtag cow vet, and that's how you find, if you keep hashtag, well, you're not meant to use the same hashtags for everything, but generally I'll have bovine vet or cow vet in some of my posts, and then that'll form some sort of loop and get people following the same. Like, I've followed a lot of people from those hashtags, so it's maybe that's it. Follow loops, you follow accounts and they follow you back. Oh,
you're making me feel a lot better that it wasn't just me that didn't understand it. But yeah,
no,
so follow loops on Instagram.
They sound, I just follow random accounts and hope they follow me back.
Yeah.
And then the other one I didn't understand was Meet Edgar from Kim, that goes across most platforms. Perhaps one of our guests can enlighten me.
I think that's a way of setting up posts in advance and things like that, content in advance. And then you can time when it gets pinged out over your different accounts. So I don't know, say you got an afternoon, you could write 3 or 4 posts and then click when they're going to go out. So then over the coming week or wherever, it goes out automatically. You don't have to worry about it. That might be a quite good way of growing an account. If you start looking at your insights, you can find out when people are mainly online. Classically, it's sort of dinner time when everyone comes home, and that's when they're looking for that new content. So if you have lined everything up, you could ping it all out at like 5-6 o'clock at night and hit the most number of people. That's what a lot of businesses do.
Brilliant. And actually, it looks as if our audience is quite well. So between Louise and Kim and Alex. So follow loops where multiple users follow each other, message everyone. So you follow everyone on the list that you're given, you remove the top person, add yourself and send it on. At least that's how she thinks it works. So anyway, I suspect there's certainly loads that I don't understand, but there's always loads more potential. So it's great that you managed to get so many followers without necessarily knowing all these tips.
How do we do it? I don't, but they're saying that it's quite common in house accounts. And if you notice, I follow a few home accounts at the moment because I'm thinking of going building, and you know, every house account has so many followers. Like they literally, that's Instagram is just taken off. So I do probably think there's some sort of merit in this, but I don't know. I know Follow Fridays and all these kind of things where you tag different vets and you pass it around and people follow. That's a form of a loop, I suppose. But this sounds to be more like a message. But I've never done one. No.
Okay, I think. Oh, I did promise I would share. Let me just stop this and. We asked you 3 words to describe why vets might not want to use social media: and exposure, judgment, confidentiality, too time consuming, not enough time. I think time's come in there quite big. Fear of the unknown. Yeah, I think fear of the unknown, I could be in there. That's why you have kids. And the consistency required. And I think that's, yeah, you've got to be brave, haven't you? You're putting yourself out there and you've got to be prepared that people might, come back. So anyway, thanks, guys. Let's just stop sharing that. Many thanks all for all your, does anyone have any final thoughts or things you want to add? Or
I think if anyone's interested in making videos, like I'm by no means any sort of expert. As I say, I've just been doing this for less than 6 months. So all I would say is just start doing it. Just start making something on your iPhone. Start putting it out. People are really interested. Like they love seeing what we do, and then just carry on putting them out as consistently as you can. You don't need any like fancy kit. You can do it on your phone. If you are going to pay a bit of money for any kit, like a mic, because that's what they always say about videos, is audio is more important than actual visuals, you know. So having people watch a video with good audio but questionable visuals, but not the other way around. So if you wanted to, it's just boys and toys, really, just something to spend my money on. But just get out and start doing it, and it's good to have someone you can talk to. So to be honest, the reason I started doing it, one of the reasons was a friend of mine. He's not a vet, but he's a farmer. He's a shepherd called Cammy Wilson. He has a channel called The Sheep Game, which is very good. But in a typical sort of, if you're an egotist like me, you look at what your friend's doing and think, oh, I can do that. And so you can sort of, the nice thing is I can ask him for advice. I can to some extent like ride on his coattails because he can share bits and pieces of what I'm doing. Just if you've got someone you can tap into, even if you don't know them that well, just go and do it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kaz. Have you got any final comments, Hazel?
Yeah, I do agree with Kaz to try and get, not exactly copying anybody, but definitely have your inspirational people that you follow or you like to watch and, see what they do. And, for me, I think, Jared the vet, Hijabi vet, the calf vet over in the US, like they just had super, and I was just really inspired by them and just really wanted to share my story. And I think talking on camera as well, it takes a bit of time and you don't have to do that. Like you can literally point your camera away and look at something and talk and you'll get as many followers as having your face on it. But how I used to never take any selfies or anything like that. And I hated seeing my face on camera, but I just said one day, I was just like, right, I'm just going to do it, save it on my phone. I didn't do anything with it. Then the next day I just was like, right, I'm just going to put up in a story and see. And people like I hadn't put my face on camera before and people wrote back and were like, oh, it's great to see you. It's great to hear you. It's great to hear what you talk, your accent and people want to know who you are. And yeah, you don't have to put out like loads and loads of reams of clinical knowledge, but just little snippets of what you do and who you are. So that's it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Hazel. Any comments, Tom?
Yeah, mine would be mainly like have fun. have fun doing it. I mean, it's a good opportunity to meet and interact with people like across the world doing kind of similar things to us, and sort of, you know, it is social media at the end of the day. And like I said earlier, part of that is socializing, and it's that opportunity to meet new people. And I think off the back of it, I've had quite a lot of good opportunities which have arisen, which wouldn't have happened if I hadn't done it. So just give it a go and see what happens, really.
Yeah.
Excellent. Anything to say, Philippa?
Yeah, just to add, I think like Kaz touched on it, we're putting content out that supports our industry. You know, we're working with farmers at the end of the day, and we want to support them, and we're putting it into a void that may otherwise be filled with untruths. And so to be able to do that and put that content in there is really, really important. And the more we do that, the better that's got to be for everybody. So I think that's been a really good support, and farmers, I think, really like that support from us as much as other vets. So if you are in any doubt, like any of the others have said, just go for it. I think it's a good thing to do.
Great. Well, I just thank you all. And can I just, I'll end the webinar now. I think we're probably done with people's questions and stuff. Can I just say thank you so much to all of you for joining us. We really appreciate it. It's really good. I think everybody's learned something. I've certainly learned a lot, but I've really appreciated, watching your slides, hearing you talk, and hearing your experiences. And thank you to all our sponsors, but thanks most of all to Tom and Kaz and Hazel, and excellent. Go and get some more followers. We really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a million.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.